Okay, so we're on to task 3, activity 4, which is all about stocks and shares. Okay, the FTSE 100 and tracker funds. So this is where if you want to be the next Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street, if you want the villa, you want the jet skis, this is where you need to be paying attention and seeing if you can make a bit of money through this system. Okay, there's a lot of risk involved though, which we are going to work out in a wee second. So a little bit about how stocks and shares work. So big companies, so like BP and Tesco, for example, are usually owned by shareholders. Now what that means is shareholders could be individual people, or they could be organisations like banks or insurance companies who own a share or lots of shares in the company. Okay, so they've basically bought a piece of the company. The value of each big company is based on the number of shares it has issued and the value of each share. So for example, if a company has issued 1 billion shares, so 1 billion 1 billion shares are owned by various people and organisations, and the value of each share is £3, so it costs you £3 to own a share, then times that by 1 billion, that is the value of the company. So the value of the company will be £3 billion. Okay, so that's how kind of shares work in terms of value. When you may have seen, Amazon is worth X amount of money. Jeff Bezos is worth how many billions. How does that work? Well, it's because Amazon's shares are worth so much, and there's so many of them that then forms a value for that company. And obviously, people that own various shares in that, then you can work out how much they have in their shares, how much value they are worth. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. So shares can be bought and sold, and the value of shares can go up or down depending on the number of people want to buy it or sell them at any given time. Okay, so this is the where the risk is involved with shares. It sounds great, playing the game of buying shares, but they can go up in value, they can also go down in value. If a company performs well and makes large profits, then the share price is likely to rise. And likewise, if it starts making losses, its share prices is likely to fall. So to encourage potential investors to buy shares in the company or keep their shares, companies will usually pay what's called a dividend. And this is basically pay a portion of their profits each year back to their shareholders. So to encourage you to buy shares in their company, which will make their company be worth more, they will sometimes offer to pay you a dividend, which is a proportion of their profits. Okay, so you get some of their profits back. So obviously, if you are investing in a company with making a larger profits, you have the opportunity to maybe get those profits, a part of those profits, given back to you. So it's a promising proposition. The price of shares is constantly changing, so it has to be regularly updated, and the prices are quoted on a share index. The most famous index used in the UK is one you've definitely heard of, been mentioned, is the FTSE 100. That is the Financial Times Stock Exchange 100, which updates and collects the share prices of the 100 biggest companies on the London Stock Exchange. And that's where shares are all bought and sold. So basically the 100 biggest companies in the United Kingdom in the London Stock Exchange are regularly updated in this FTSE 100. Okay, so what we're going to do is find out a bit more about some of these companies. So you have to make this quick table, please, where you've got the company name, you've got their current share price, and then what you need to do is we're going to work out what the percentage rise or fall is. Okay? So in order to be able to do this last part, we need to know how to figure out the percentage rise or fall of something. So we're going to pause on this task very briefly, and I'm going to show you an example of how that works. So percentage rise and fall, this is how we work it out, and you need to copy this in because this is very important. Okay, so to figure out how much something has risen or fallen, the percentage, you take the change in the values, you divide by the original value and you multiply that by 100. Okay, so take a wee minute just to copy that formula and put it in a nice neat box, please, on your paper. Okay, and I have an example to show you which hopefully will make this make more sense. So copy this example down with me. So it is up to 2005, a Freddo cost 10 pence. By 2021, it now costs 25 pence. Absolutely scandalous. So the question is, what is the percentage rise? Okay, it's obviously gone up in value, so it is a percentage rise. So how much? We know it's gone up by 15 pence, that's obvious, but what is the percentage that it's gone up? That's what we're working out here. Okay, so here's how we do it. So the percentage rise is equal to the change in the values, so the difference in the values, so it's gone up by 15 pence, so that's going to be 15 on top. Sorry, I'll write down the formula. So it is the change in the values divided by the original value, and then we multiply that by 100. Okay, so the change in the value is the 25 pence, subtract the 10 pence, so that is 15p. We divide that by the original cost, which is 10 pence, and then we multiply that by 100. So to your calculator now, 15 divided by 10 times 100. And we get that the percentage rise is 150%. Okay, you may hear that with certain things, you really, it's quite hard to kind of wrap your head around that when people say, the price in this has gone up by 500%, or, the rate of infection of coronavirus has gone up by 300%. What does that mean? I thought a percentage was only out of 100. Well, no, if something more than doubles in its own price, then it goes up by more than 100%. So 10p to 25p, that is 150% percentage rise. Okay, so back to our stock exchange now. So what you have to do is we have to identify any three companies listed on the FTSE 100 and find the current share price for each company, and then do the percentage rise or fall over the course of a year. So what I've actually done is it mentioned BP as in the first line of this activity. So I went and all I did was I typed in BP share price. Okay, so I just typed in, I'll show you right on here, BP share price, and this is what comes up on Google. Okay, so what you need to look for is the price changes. You can see the price is changing all the time, but it will automatically just be set into for one day. So what is the price change per day? So you can change the time period. Okay, so how much has it changed just today? How much has it changed in the last 5 days? How much has the price changed in the last month, 6 months, the year to date? So from January to now. But what we want is how much has it changed over the course of a full year. So make sure you have selected that 1 year at the top. Okay, so what that then gave me was this chart here. The price to date as of 26th of January is, for one share, is £282.35. So we're going to start by writing in this. So it's BP PLC. That's the name of the company. And the share price as of today is £282.35. So if you wanted to buy it, one share in BP right now, be part of that company, be a shareholder, it would cost you £282.35. Okay, so these are as of 26th of the 1st, 21. Okay, so they're going to change every single day. So that's kind of the whole point of people that make money out of shares, is they try and predict the change, and they try and buy shares when they are low, and in the hope that they will increase, so then their shares will then be worth more. Okay, and that's, if we draw back to a full year ago, you can see that the share price has fallen from last year. If I go back to my Google page to figure out exactly what the actual number is, it was £476.95 a full year, so that's on 27th of Jan 2020. So it's actually dropped from £476.95 to what it is today at £282.35. So here's what we have to do, is we have to work out what that percentage, well, it's going to be a percentage fall this time, isn't it, because it has gone down in price. So the change is the important bit to work out. So it was 476.95. I'm going to make my pen a little smaller, and it's now 282.35. So what is that difference? What is that change in value? So 476.95 take away 282.35. So it has gone down by £194.60. Okay, that's not our percentage rise, that's just the change part. So a percentage fall is going to be, because it's gone down, is the change, 194.60, divided by the original. Now the original was what it was a year ago at £476.95, and then you do that division and then times it by 100. Okay, there's not a huge amount of space to do this working, so make sure you give yourself a lot of space. So it's 194.6 divided by 476.95, hit equals, then times that by 100. So it's actually gone down by 40.8% in a year. That's quite a massive amount. I mean, it might not seem a huge amount to drop from £476.95 to 282. Okay, only just under £200. But imagine that's for one share. Imagine you had bought 1,000 shares. So imagine that drop in price multiplied by 1,000. So you've actually lost £194,000 over the course of a year, not just 194. So that kind of highlights what the dangers sometimes of investing in shares are. It's great when the prices are going up, but the prices can also dip and you can end up losing a lot of money. So anyone that invested in oil, you may have heard in the last sort of 10 years, oil prices have dipped massively. And interestingly to note, one other thing to note is if you go to basically any share price, you'll notice a big dip. Now that dip happens around the middle of March. Last year? What happened about the middle of March last year? The pandemic, lockdown, all of that. Okay, so that massively affected the share price of the whole stock exchange. And you will see in pretty much every stock that you look at, there will be a big dip around about that year, which is a lot of companies still haven't fully recovered from. Right, so that's BP. What I want you to do now is do the same thing for two more companies. So what is the current share? So just type in FTSE 100 companies and pick any other two that you like. What is the current share price? What was it one full year ago? So then work out what that change is from a year ago until now. Has it gone up? Has it gone down? And then what is the percentage rise or fall? So it's the change divided by the original times 100. Okay, two more companies to do that for, and I would like to see some of your answers when we get onto a call.